What's going on, fellow pyros? It is KDK Diekin, and good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a very special guest we're going to bring on representing Finale Fireworks, and today we're going to talk about Finale 3D. And the reason why I wanted to introduce this cool product and this company on my channel, as you guys all know, I'm a huge tech guy, love technology, but I really love integrating technology with fireworks. And originally, I planned to do this myself, but I figured, well, why do this myself? I could reach out to one of the company representatives to better help us understand the product. And so in today's video, we're going to take a full look at Finale 3D. It's really cool. It's impressive. Hope you guys learn a lot. Fellas, you know what time it is. All right, fellas. So joining me today is Drew from Finale 3D. He is going to be our expert who is all familiar with the product. He's going to answer all of our questions, and then he's also going to give us a live tutorial about how you can get started using this awesome product. So let's welcome Drew to the channel.
Hi, Keo. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thanks for joining. So I reached out to Drew a few weeks ago. Drew, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with the company, and tell us about this amazing product. Because when I first saw it, I was like, man, this thing looks like Adobe After Effects. This looks like Adobe Premiere. I have some experience making maps with Command & Conquer Generals. And so I was like, man, this looks like something I could just really easily use, even though I don't shoot professional fireworks shows. So tell us a little bit about the product, yourself, what we could do with it.
Yeah. So, in terms of myself, I've been passionate about fireworks for as long as I can remember. And I got my start through doing fireworks as a hobbyist and then working up to doing fireworks professionally, designing displays. And I used a variety of tools over the years to design and produce displays. And Finale 3D came along. It's a recent product. It's been out for just a couple of years. Officially, it's been in development for many years previous to that. But Finale kind of just takes the cake when it comes to show design in terms of the powerful features that it has. And I was using it professionally before I joined the company. And then I came on board in a sales, marketing, and customer success role just over a year ago. So just at the end of 2019, kind of before, luckily and unluckily, kind of right before the world kind of started suffering from the coronavirus pandemic. So here I am, and that's a little bit about me. In terms of the product, as I mentioned, I'm here firmly because I believe it's the most powerful scripting product, fireworks design product out there. And it, in terms of who it's for, I think it's for anyone who has a passion for fireworks, who's interested in designing shows, either virtually, shows that they'll never produce, or for enthusiasts at all levels who are, doing a single backyard show each year, or professionals who are producing some of the largest displays in the world.
Yeah, that's what really caught my attention. I was like, man, even if I don't shoot or show professionally, this looks like something I can play around with. I could possibly use it in some videos to do some additional editing. But the thing that I liked about it is while I was navigating through the software with all the, phenomenal options that it has, you have an inventory list of fireworks that you can actually pull from. So if you're not familiar with certain effects, it's like a live tutorial that teaches you or the association of names with the effect of the firework.
Yeah, that's right. One of the claims to fame, shall we say, of Finale, of all of the Finale family of products, of which this is really the second generation product, which we built on our previous experience with our older software. Finale 3D is currently our only software today, but it builds on a legacy of something that is called VDL, Visual Descriptive Language. And it's kind of the secret sauce. It allows a user with some basic understanding of pyro terminology to type in a description of an effect, a pyro effect. And we'll do a little demo of that later today, but they can then, the simulation is automatically produced based on just typing in those words. And then of course there's ways to modify it and adjust it and tweak it and tune it. But yeah, that it is kind of an addictive aspect of the product.
Awesome. So if I'm a beginner, if I'm new to the hobby, or if I'm interested in this product, what do I need to get started? What kind of computer do I need? What are the specs of the software? What does somebody need to initially get started and enjoy this product?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's take a quick look at, since we have the live stream capability today, okay. I think a picture or video is worth 1,000 words. So let me set up my screen share here.
All right.
And let's see, a couple clicks away.
I definitely want to thank everybody for joining this morning.
All right, so I got my screen shared.
Perfect.
All right. Keo, can you see that on your end? I don't. There we go. Yeah. Great. Yeah, so this is our homepage, finale3d.com. So if you're interested in the product or the software, giving it a try, this is the place to come. In terms of system requirements, we really designed Finale 3D to be able to run on most computers. So if you bought a computer in the last few years, whether it's a Mac or a laptop or a desktop machine, it likely will run. There are some details that matter. I should mention with Mac specifically, when it's a Windows application. So yes, it will run on a Mac, but not natively. So you need to have Boot Camp or Parallels, and then you need to have Windows 10 running under one of those. Right. What I tell, there's really some basic things in terms of if you're trying to shop for a computer and you want to determine if the selection you've made or the contenders you have, which one's best or which one to look at. The most important thing to take into consideration is the graphics card. So what I tell our customers or users, anyone interested, is to do a quick Google search for video card benchmarks. And that will take you, usually the first return on Google is a site called videocardbenchmark.net. And here you can just search for a video card. So, for example, I'm actually running a desktop machine right now that has an older generation NVIDIA graphics card. I have the GTX 960. Okay. You do have to spell it right. So let me give you an example here. If I find that card, what I'm just looking at is the benchmark for the card. And so this is the card I have here. It has a benchmark of about 6,024 at the moment. That fluctuates a little bit based on the benchmarks. But what I tell folks is try to get a computer that has a dedicated graphics card and has a benchmark over 6,000. If you do that, you'll be pretty good. As a couple extra things you want to look for, having a laptop or desktop with a solid state hard drive does make a difference. And also at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. Those aren't minimum system requirements, but if you want Finale to run solidly and have it, the graphics are very flexible. So like in the situation where your computer's not powerful enough, it will actually scale down the graphics to handle anything that to handle running on lower, less powerful hardware. So that's, and I would say if you're not sure if it's going to work and you already own and if you're shopping for a computer, obviously you want to do a little bit of research before you buy it. But if you're already own a computer and you're not sure, the first thing you need to do to get started, just go to our website, go to the downloads page, and grab the latest version. So we list all of our versions here with the latest full release at the top of the page, and then our previous releases underneath. So you can very easily see all those. And usually all you need to do is grab the latest one. You can download and install the product and run it in free trial mode without the need to purchase anything. And that allows you to see, if it runs well on your machine, you'll be able to know that before buying the license.
Oh, sweet. So I did some tech research just to find out what is a typical price range now for those of you watching. And I believe a lot of the laptops right now averaging about $300 to $400 that has a good dedicated graphics card will run Finale 3D. And I know that's very important for laptops because you could make this your project on a home desktop PC where you can add additional video cards, SLI, and add some of the other latest graphics cards and whatnot. But if you plan on being mobile, I think a laptop is really key to have. And so, yeah, if you are spending roughly about $300 or $400 on a laptop with a good dedicated graphics card, then you should be fine and good to go running this application.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the only other thing you really need to get started is an account, which is just what you use to log into the software and also log into the website. And that's free. So it takes less than a minute. All you need to do is put in an email address and a password, and your account. You would need to validate your email address, which is just receiving an email, clicking a link, but it's all it takes. And then you're off to the races.
So, Drew, I see that you have three different products here. So you have demo free, you have hobbyist, and you also have pro. So if I just want to download this and play around with it, just to get familiar with the product, what can I do for the free model? And then, how far can I really go before I want to decide on purchasing it or not?
Yeah, great question. So the free demo includes all of the hobbyist features. So hobbyist features are honestly a vast majority of the features that the software has. There's a few key features in the pro version that are exclusive just to the pro version. And some of those are especially powerful for sort of more professional users. But you can get pretty far. The limitation with the free version, the free trial mode, is that you can't save any of your work. So if you're trying to, when you're designing a show, it's often a project, it's often a lengthy process. So it's not something you're going to do in 10 minutes or an hour. It might take a few days. You might want to come back and work on it. So if you close the application down, you're not able to save your progress. And then also we don't allow exporting in the demo version for obvious reasons. Exporting is something that a user would do to actually take the show and create the reports and information and the firing script they would need to actually produce the show in the real world. So we don't allow any exporting either.
I see. Okay.
In terms of the hobbyist version, there are not too many limitations. You can design shows of any size, as it says here. You can work with all of the same pyrotechnic simulations and effects that you can work with in the pro version. All of the firing systems that we support, which are almost every, if not every, mainstream professional and hobbyist firing system, are in all versions of the software, hobbyist and pro. And then we have pretty extensive labeling and reports. Those are things that are used in the real world for setting up shows. We also have inventory management integration. The pro version, and we're going to demo some of the pro features today, actually, because some of them are some of the more snazzy visual features. So the additional things you get with pro are the ability to see what we call a visual rack layout, which is something that is handy for if you're going from the virtual world to the real world. It's kind of like that diagram that shows you how do you set up your show on the ground. So it's like sort of like a blueprint. And then you also have the Google Maps and 3D model feature, and that's what we're going to demo today. And then there's just a lot more customization, as well as getting Ultra HD, like 4K videos and stuff like that. The pro version, it does have some standout features, but there's no reason to be shy about hobbyist. It's a great product. It's a fantastic product as well.
Yeah, the other day, Drew was showing me some of the features, and one of the things that really caught my attention was the fact that you could use Google Maps, just drop in a location and customize a show around that. So I know he'll show you, but that was just pretty cool because normally, if you're familiar with video game map making and stuff, or making a show, you have to design everything from scratch. But with that cool feature, you could just type in the GPS coordinates and it actually loads the actual coordinates, the mountains, the statues, everything that's there, and you could completely build a show around that. So that was really cool, because at that point in time I was like, man, is this really a video game or is this a Firework program?
Yeah, and those are pro features, and that's a bummer for the hobbyist, some of the hobbyist users, but the nature of it is you have to draw that line somewhere with what's the difference between your feature set between applications. And that's one of the places we decided to draw it. And we're very comfortable with that. I want to mention, it's like, live streams certainly aren't new as a result of the pandemic, but there's definitely a kind of a space that's taken off with virtual fireworks design, especially at this time when a lot of professionals can't produce the shows that they normally would. So for folks that think, hey, I'm not going to be able to shoot a real fireworks show, what good is Finale for me? It's not extremely widespread, but there are various, and there's an ever increasing number of competitions that take place, virtual fireworks competitions that you can enter online, including some that we host ourselves. So we have actually hosted 2 pretty large scale virtual competitions and for the Finale 3D user community. And we're planning to host more in the future. So for anybody even who lives in a place where they can't shoot fireworks or they'll never be able to shoot fireworks, you still might be interested in Finale, just as from the virtual aspect, almost like a competition based on sort of a game, and sort of think of it as a game or a competition that's entirely virtual.
Right. Well, that's pretty cool, because even if people aren't shooting fireworks right now, at least they could design some shows and keep them handy for the future.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
All right. So do you want to show us what can we do to get started, like with the product? I know a lot of people really want to see what Finale 3D looks like, and if this is your first time hearing about Finale 3D, or let's say you're just a backyard shooter, don't let the computer program scare you. I mean, it's really easy to jump into, really straightforward. So if you already have some type of computer knowledge with Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Adobe After Effects, or Adobe Premiere, again, a lot of this is straightforward as far as looking at the full application, going through some of the options, the inventory list. So obviously there is a tutorial. They have their own separate YouTube account where you can watch other videos. I have a link of that in the description of this video, but Drew's going to show us a little bit more about how easy it is to start setting up fireworks shows and just walk us through the process.
Yeah. So to reinforce, Keo, exactly what you're saying, for someone who has some basic computer skills, has used Excel, if you have any level of mastery, or even basic Photoshop skills, audition skills, Premiere skills, Finale is not going to be. Of course, it's a different tool to learn, but all of those skills are gonna they're gonna transfer over, and you're not going to have that difficult a time. And to your point, yes, youtube.com/Finale3D. We have a number of tutorials there. We also have lots of documentation on our website. And of course, you're free to reach out to me and our support team at any time. So when you launch Finale 3D, I already had the software running. It was just minimized in my taskbar. So you didn't see the login process, but it's really straightforward. Once you have that free account, you just log right in. If you don't have an account, you launch the software, you can create an account right in the app. Then you log in. And again, that account is good for both the app and the website. So this is what you end up with. We have our kind of default screen layout that starts up. We have 3 windows. We call this the design window here. It's a 3D window where you can kind of work in 3D space. You see the grass and the firing positions. We have what we call the effects window. This is kind of like your inventory or your collection of effects, virtual effects that you're going to work from.
Okay.
And then you have your script. And the script right now is blank because we don't have anything in the show. So as you build out your show, you get your script kind of fills in here. So what I thought I would do is, Keo, I thought we would go ahead and kind of, at the top of the call, at the top of the live stream, you showed a video that I kind of created yesterday as a kind of little bit of a demo of what we can do with the Statue of Liberty and the Google Map and some reflective water and some products. I thought I would kind of demonstrate how we would recreate something like that.
Right.
So.
And Drew sent me that video yesterday, and I was asking him, is that actually possible to shoot up the fireworks and have my name displayed? So Drew tells me it was possible because I've never really seen that before. So can you talk a little bit about that process, as far as the fireworks either involved or the process? Because I just thought it was maybe something he threw in there, Finale 3D. So
no, absolutely. So what I did just there is flip over to the show that I designed for you. And this show is already complete. So you can see as we move around in the 3D environment, you're seeing a bit of the Google Map and also our reflective water. And each of these orangish yellowish circles is a firing position. So that's like a launch point for the product. And some of these are at angles, kind of pointing toward the camera or toward the audience. And that's where the letters that say Kyo Daikin were launched from. And I can actually scroll through the timeline here. If you work with Audition or Audacity or Premiere, you're familiar with a timeline and a waveform. And so that's a similar thing in Finale. So here you can see those effects being launched. And, so they're launched from the firing position, and it uses a variety of effects. So each of the dotted lines here, we call it trajectory dots. That represents an individual effect. And you can do this in real life just by going out. You can buy these products. They're becoming, it's a relatively new effect, but you can buy these products from some consumer fireworks companies or companies that sell kind of what they call pro line, which is still consumer, but meant for sort of the next level consumer or the backyard enthusiast. And you could do something like this. And the cool thing is that Finale 3D makes this really easy to generate these letters automatically. And maybe we can come back to that. But yeah, so absolutely. And, if you do for those interested, if you do a Google search for letter shooting, you'll find videos on YouTube and other news sources of this being done, in real life. So it's
that's available on the consumer level too, right?
Yeah. So what you're seeing done in professional fireworks displays is obviously larger scale. Like what I've done here is pretty big. It would be large in the real world. I mean, these letters are, in excess of 100 feet tall, but you can buy the effects and do it on the consumer level as a hobbyist without a license, of course, depending on the regulations in your municipality. Some states are not as friendly to fireworks as others, unfortunately. And if you live this is not something you're doing on your driveway in a subdivision, because it is a large effect, and you do need to make sure that you know what you're doing, and it requires some professional equipment. But if it's something you're interested in, you could certainly learn to do it without having a license and without a lot of hoops to jump through. So I'll go ahead and switch back to our blank show, which is the way that Finale comes when you open it for the first time. And you see right now we have the grass. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate how to put the Google map in. So what I'm going to do is pop open web browser, and I'll just search for Statue of Liberty. We'll just recreate that same scene. So I'll come over here to the Google map, which comes up. So here we are. And then I'm just going to right click on a spot on the map that I'd like to be kind of the center of my virtual universe.
Okay.
And the newer thing that Google Maps is doing is they make it really easy to copy the coordinates. So I right click and it pops right up. So I just left click and then bam, I've got those coordinates on my keyboard or on my clipboard, excuse me. In Finale 3D, I just go to scenery, background images, set ground to Google Maps. And I'm just using my keyboard shortcut Control V to paste in those coordinates. So it's just that simple. It takes a minute, depending on the speed of your internet connection and how quickly Google's servers respond. We pull in the map. So here it's offering me to adjust the brightness. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so everybody can see the terrain better. So I'm just going to
ask you: Are there other products on the market that can do this?
I'm not aware of one in the fireworks design or special effects design space that can do this. But I'm definitely not going to say there's no other products that can do it. In terms of like, if you're looking for fireworks design software and you want this feature, you need Finale 3D, to my knowledge. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that just seems like it takes a lot of work out of trying to. I'm not familiar with everything that's on the market. Previous to this, but let's say if I was just getting started in the business and I have to map out everything. You know what? There was a TV show. I think it was it Burning Pyros? I can't remember what it was called, but they were a Canadian-based company.
Yeah, you're talking about the show Pyros, actually. I think it was on the Canadian version, a Canadian iteration of the Weather Channel. And I know those guys, great guys up in Canada at GFA.
Yeah, and I think they were hand drawing the positions of where they wanted to use the fireworks.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, man, it seems like they need something a little bit more sophisticated to really plan out everything, because that's a lot of work just to hand draw out everything and I guess use your imagination mathematically, factor in different weather conditions. And so Drew, I'm blown away by the project, by this product. And, I don't want our viewers to think that, this is just for making fireworks, because I believe Finale 3D, it can pretty much factor in a lot of different scenarios, right, Drew?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the primary function is to create simulations for exporting as a video rendering or to actually produce a real fireworks show. But, the other major thing it does, and we have a major initiative in terms of projects that we're recently working on. I can't demo it today because it's still we're still in a beta, you might say. But we're in the process of adding a lot of what we call DMX effects. So we already support a good range of DMX effects like flame systems. So if you follow music festivals or live events, you've probably seen flames on stage, and we have support for those effects as well. And we're in the process of adding both static lighting and moving lighting. So moving lights. Oh, nice. So even if you have no interest in fireworks, there will be a time in the not too far off future where you can use Finale 3 to do lighting design. We're not going to be from where we are today, overnight to being a product that you could use to design something like Electric Daisy Carnival, but we're coming for them. So we think that, to your point, Keo, we think that the interface we have is really translatable to other types of live events and productions outside of just pyro and special other traditional kind of pyrotechnics and fireworks stuff. So for sure, yeah.
So if I was designing a show right now, and let's say, what is it? Chicago's a windy city, right? So let's say if I was in Chicago, or right now I know you have New York. Let's say if it was really windy, is there a way to calculate the fireworks based upon certain wind conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be easier to show that once we get some fireworks in here. So we might want to move a little bit further in terms of getting our scene set. But you're absolutely right. I can just give you a quick glimpse. If we go to our render settings, Finale 3D, the physics are incredible in terms of our ability to give real life representation of what those burning embers are going to be as they are floating through the sky. And the way gravity affects them, but also the elements of the weather. So here you can see we can adjust not only the smoke thickness, but the direction of the wind and the speed of the wind. And Keo can attest to this because I did a brief demo with him the other day. Like, we cranked the wind speed up to exaggerate the windy city, and you can see those fireworks kind of moving across the screen. So yeah, this can be used for working with what we call AHJs, or authority having jurisdictions, like fire departments and security safety people who are concerned about, where the fallout might be for a fireworks display. To give you a grandiose example of that, Finale 3D was used to design Super Bowl this year, and the simulations in Finale 3D were watched by all of the authorities, all of the safety personnel, to approve the show. So in addition to, of course, doing some testing, some live testing, the company that produced the event used Finale 3D to get approval for the show from all of the local authorities. So it's pretty cool.
So they basically created the model and then showed them, and then said, this is what we're going to do. And then based upon that model, show them. That's actually a good selling point, because I know a lot of places that don't approve of fireworks. If you can give them a general idea about, the range of your show as far as the space and everything, then yeah, I mean, that would help. Obviously, it saves money, but it's also a good selling point.
Yeah, I mean, safety is paramount with explosives. Fireworks are explosives. Even little fireworks can be dangerous, and it can help. Sure. I mean, if you have a rendering that you can show someone who maybe represents a local city council or a fire chief who's not intimately familiar with fireworks, as most folks aren't. Like, the fireworks professionals are, like people like, my former self, my former role at just professional display companies, but most folks aren't. So that rendering, that video is worth 1 billion words, we shall say. And it definitely helps to show the scale of the show and the fact that it can be executed safely, along with other things that you can do, to make sure that it's not the only thing, but it's definitely an element in in helping with show production and safe show production.
Yeah, definitely.
Kyo, you mentioned earlier about bringing in elements from maps. I want to tell the folks who are watching, the audience, one of the limitations we have with Google Maps is you only get the 2D, you get the flat map, and I get the question all the time, like, well, when I go to Google Maps in my web browser, I see all the buildings and I see my house and my trees. Yeah, Google doesn't want to give that to Google doesn't want to share that. So we have we are using the Google Maps data legally. We have an integration with Google. It's not some type of hack. And Google just, from a commercial standpoint, doesn't make their 3D map data available to companies like us at this point. So we would love to, of course, have that's why you're not seeing the Statue of Liberty on my screen right now, because what we're looking at is just the 2D map. Okay. So what we're going to do next is incorporate that with a model, actually.
Right.
So let me go ahead and demo that. I'll bring the web browser back here, and let's go to the 3D warehouse. So we support SketchUp models. So anyone who's familiar with CAD programs may be familiar with Google SketchUp. That's the format that we currently support, and at present, the only format. I can search for Statue of Liberty, and this way, instead of having to know how to use SketchUp, I can go to the Models tab, and there's just a huge wealth of resources of pre-made models. For most major landmarks around the world, these models already exist, and they're really good quality. And so you don't have to know how to create CAD models on your own. You can just kind of pick one, and it'll do the job. So I've actually already got one downloaded. I experimented with a few, and I found one, actually this one here, that works really good. So you would just download that, and you want to choose, I'll just go ahead and do that again. So you would just go ahead and choose the 2018 format when you download, and I'll just save that here. Save that model. It's pretty small.
So, Drew, on average, when you're dealing with a lot of the firework companies and so forth, what can you say is the average duration of a fireworks show? And in comparison, how long would it normally take somebody to make that said duration in Finale 3D?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really depends on the type of show. So I think a good quick explanation would be, for a show that is, I would first say that, most feature-length fireworks shows for 4th of July in the US, they're probably in the range of maybe just under 20 minutes to maybe at most 30 minutes, maybe slightly longer. But usually fireworks shows, if you're thinking, no, my municipal show is 45 minutes, usually fireworks shows feel longer than they are, which is a good thing if you're entertained. There are different types of shows, right? There's shows that have no music where it's just fireworks. Those are designed pretty quickly, and Finale has some really powerful features to be able to do that. Then there are shows that have fireworks kind of accompanied by music, where the music is playing and the fireworks are going off, but there's not necessarily any really precise coordination. And then there's the creme de la creme, the world-class show, which is like a snippet of what we saw in the video at the top of the live stream, which is a PyroMusical, meaning that a fireworks designer, a choreographer sat down and they spent a lot of time, sometimes an hour a minute, sometimes 3, 4, 5 hours per minute of show. So think 20-minute show, 20 to 60 hours of design time. For example, that 1-minute video I designed for the stream yesterday, I spent a couple hours on it. So if you want to really tweak it and get it to look good, it does take some time. If you got to go quickly, you can do maybe half hour to an hour a minute. So there's a lot of effort there in it. So you can think, in the US every summer, there's thousands and thousands of fireworks shows. Those shows are being planned for months and months and months leading up to the 4th of July, long before the shows happen.
Right. And I know I'm probably jumping a little ahead of myself, but later on in the show, do you have an example of somebody who's brand new to Finale 3D and have an example of their work on your website somewhere on YouTube?
We have a lot of videos on our channel from the competitions that we've done, and a large number of those users, it was their very first time. So we've, every submission that we received that met the competition rules, We uploaded that video to our YouTube channel. So you can see we had a competition last year in July. We have a playlist in our channel for that. And we had a competition in October. I don't have any information in the videos that tells like who's new versus who's experienced. But
Okay.
suffice it to say, like a lot of the users are able to do some pretty incredible things, even comparable with some of the professionals, because of the power of Finale 3D without having to, without spending that much time. It doesn't take that long to get good at making something that looks pretty darn good in Finale.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
So we brought in our Statue of Liberty model, and it's scaled properly. So I'm just dropping it on top of that spot where it would sit in real life.
Okay.
And I'll just go ahead and lock those models in place. So now we can see it's starting to take shape. So now we're starting to look more like what we had in the video there. Yeah. So the next thing, and this is one of my, I'll say this over and over. This is one of my favorite features, but this is one of my favorite features. Right now we've got just the Google map of the water, and it's not reflected at all. It's just a static photograph. So the next step to make this really pop is to do some reflective water.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and go to scenery, and we'll just say draw water large area. So this allows you to actually draw in areas of reflective water. I'm going to do kind of a crude job just in the interest of time here, but it does a pretty good job of getting water in here. And then I'll go back, and you can draw a small area of water. And then we'll go ahead and just kind of polish that up real quick. Just want to give a pretty good example of what that looks like. So for the video I made yesterday, obviously I spent a little bit more time on getting that water in there. So it looked really good.
Yeah, so for those of you interested in this this program and designing, I do believe you can also add in boats and other little objects, if that's correct, Drew.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go, but we showed the Google 3D warehouse just a moment ago. So anything that can be drawn in SketchUp, which is anything, you could add. So you can add buildings, you can add boats, you can add barges, you can add floating platforms, docks, anything that you can either dream up and draw in SketchUp yourself or find in the warehouse. I mean, there have to be, certainly millions of pre-made Google SketchUp models. And those all allow you they can all be imported in. Now you're going to take a performance hit. If you start to put in lots of models or models with lots of surfaces, lots of polygons, lots of textures, it is going to affect the video performance. So generally speaking, like you're not going to want to put in all of Lower Manhattan in a video, to when you're working in Finale, because it will slow down the performance a bit if you're just working in the Statue of Liberty. So you can see, of course, I'm not going to add any other buildings that appear in the background in Brooklyn or in Manhattan, but New York City.
Yeah, and again, just to stress, this is the importance of understanding technology in conjunction with shooting fireworks or using a program like this, because you would definitely need an optimal video card for your computer if you're planning on using all these additional features. Now, I do know that we are in a scarce right now with video cards, but if you guys are planning on building a computer, right now really isn't the best time. But if you do plan on building a computer, you can get other lower end video cards that'll give you the performance of something on a higher end, like a 1080 Ti. So, for example, I've ran a GTX 760 and SLI, and those two cards will put out the performance of a 1080 Ti. Now, it won't have as much RAM or memory on those video cards, but it does have the same performance of a 1080 Ti. Now, those particular cards, before we had the scarcity with technology, video cards, and everything else, you could get those video cards for $39 a piece. Now you can also get the 980, the 970 for about $49. Last time I checked on either Facebook Marketplace or somewhere like Craigslist. So if you are building a computer, you can piece together your parts that way, and those will probably be the best options right now instead of going on eBay. But if you're looking for one of the higher up video cards, like a 2080 Super, which is what I have, and also the 3080, 37, 3060, then yeah, it's a little bit cheaper right now. Either you could try to find one at Micro Center if you have one close to you, or I would go on Facebook Marketplace or one of those other places, because right now the prices for GPUs are astronomical on eBay. So just to give you some perspective, but all those other top end video cards will run this just perfectly.
You're breaking my heart a little bit, because I really actually, I've built all the desktop machines I've run or I've owned in over the course of the, since the first machine that I had. And the one I'm running right now, I've upgraded a couple times, but I built it in 2009. And you don't see this from the screen share, but it's still Windows 7, which is fine, but it's definitely like it's time.
Right,
And
yeah.
it's not easy to get, especially video cards, cost effectively right now. So I got that water in there. I wanted to show kind of what you can see. Now you notice that when we come down here, if I play the show, you'll see not only just the reflections from the light in the 3D environment, but you'll also see the water actually has motion in it as well. So it's pretty realistic.
Cool. See, I didn't even know that. See, I know that there was water, but I never noticed it had motion, even on the
yeah. So you got the little ripple. Yeah, and that's just a function of there's so much going on in the video, but you can see here the water kind of ripples as we play the show. So yeah, just a little bit of added touch there. We have a really talented graphics engineer who tinkers with this kind of stuff, and some of the results are pretty amazing. So
right.
Now
I was
sorry,
talking
go ahead.
I was talking to Drew earlier, and I was asking him some additional information, because when I first saw this, I know that it is a Firework program, but it really looked like a video game. If you guys watch any of my previous Command and Conquer Generals videos, you could probably see me making a few maps. So just really quickly, I know we probably jumped ahead of, on some of this, but can you tell me a little bit about how this program came to be? Because it looks like so much like a video game in some aspects.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. My colleague, our CEO, Will Harvey, he's the founder of Finale Fireworks, along with one of his good friends, a gentleman named Chris Hondel, and they started about just over 10 years ago. Actually, now it's more like 12 years ago. And Will has a background in video game design. He designed some games that were pretty popular back 20, 30 years ago. Maybe, I think he's going to tell me it's more like 40 years ago now. But and he had some really good success in that space. So his background is in game design, and he just had a Fireworks passion, and so he leveraged that. And the first version of the Finale Fireworks product, almost 10, 12 years ago, was more of a game and did not have the features to go from the simulation you see on screen to the actual real world production.
Right.
And Will had tremendous success with that product, and it became very, very popular both for hobbyists and professionals. And over the years, he learned the professional side of Fireworks, and he incorporated features that allowed professionals to not only, you could still use it as a game, but it also had the features that professionals needed to produce shows.
Oh, pretty awesome.
So Finale 3D is born out of that experience. So all of the things that kind of couldn't be wedged into the older software, Finale Fireworks, got, when he started sort of from scratch developing Finale 3D, he said, here's all the things, here's the wish list that I've collected over the last 5-8 years I've been doing this. Now I'm going to develop a new product that just blows it out of the water. And that's what we're trying to do here. And that's what Finale 3D, that's the spirit, of Finale 3D and the legacy.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So to take our little demo here to the next level, what we need to do is work on the firing position. So each one of these, as I mentioned a little bit earlier today, each one of these little yellow circles is a firing position. That's the locations where the fireworks launch. And you probably saw in the video, we had fireworks launching all around the Statue of Liberty. So I actually had 16 of them in a circle. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some more. And I'm using a keyboard shortcut to do that. It's actually up here. Keyboard shortcuts in Finale 3D are extremely powerful. As you learn Finale, you'll start to memorize a few of the ones you use all the time. So I was hitting Control-L on my keyboard there to add some positions. And here's a cool feature. I'm going to select all of these positions, and I'm going to go to arrange these in a circle, and it's going to do it for me automatically. I'm just going to tell it I want a 400-foot circle. Boom, there it is.
And just out of curiosity, has there been any recent or any fireworks shows around the Statue of Liberty?
Every year, Macy's sponsors a large display in New York. It's not typically right at the Statue of Liberty, to my knowledge. There have been times in the past, specifically like, major anniversaries of, of July 4th or of Independence Day or of the Statue of Liberty, that there have been some large displays there. What we're demoing here today isn't really something that's done on a regular basis, to my knowledge, though. But we can wish, right? And maybe if we design something cool enough, we can go to the right folks and they'll hire us to do it. So that would be fantastic. Now, to be clear, my company is a software company. We're not in the business of producing fireworks shows, but you can see how a really cool simulation could be used as a sales tools for those who are looking to build a company and sell fireworks shows or whatever. So. Right. So there I've got my my circle of positions, and I can just kind of drag those into that spot there, and then I'll just click this little gold lock and lock those in place. So it's just simple. It's just that simple. Keo, you mentioned wind and weather variables. Now is kind of the time when we can add some effects and bring this to life, because we've got our terrain, we've got our model, we've got our water. We've kind of built it from the ground up. I want to say to folks out there who have no concept of fireworks terminology, don't be intimidated for a couple reasons, because one, we have a collection of effects pre-built into Finale. It's called generic effects. This is by no means the entire universe of effects that Finale can create, because it would just be an infinitely long list. But there are lots of effects in here that are a good starting point, and they allow you to learn the terminology. So for example, like the very first effect in the collection, when I'm sorted by part number, is a red chrysanthemum. To see what that looks like, all you have to do is you can add it to the show, or you can mouse over the little effect icon there at the top, and you can see a simulation video that plays on repeat. So this is what a red chrysanthemum looks like.
Oh, nice.
So I can go ahead and I'll just give an example here of adding one of those to the show. So I've selected all my firing positions.
Okay. I'll
just click on the chrysanthemum. And now if we play the show, they launch, and then you'll see them burst there. Oh, wow. So it's easy. You can learn terminology that way. The other thing you can do is, for those out there who have some consumer fireworks experience and are accustomed to buying their fireworks from a wholesaler or a retailer, we have what we call supplier catalog. So you can actually get more effects in here. We call it subscribing to a supplier catalog. Subscribe is not a loaded term. It's totally free. You can go to effects and then choose catalogs to download. This will take you directly to our website. And we have catalogs from manufacturers from all over the world. If you buy fireworks in the US, you may have heard of Dominator. You just click that to turn that on. Another common one is Spirit of 76. And there are others as well. So as you can see, I had them all off, and I just turned a couple on to give a demo.
So with this program, I'm allowed to browse the entire inventory of a particular company. So in this case, Spirit of 76. So if they don't have it on their website, I could see it here.
Yeah, so Spirit of 76, like all the other suppliers and manufacturers you see on this list, they manage their own catalogs. So they have Finale 3D on their end, and they build out the catalog, and it's stored in our cloud, and then it's synchronized in real time with any user who wants to view it. So if there's a product missing in either their online website or in their catalog, I encourage folks to reach out to Spirit and, of course, to us and say, hey, Spirit sells this, but it's not in the catalog. So they, it's always a project of keeping the catalogs up to date, because of, new products and new inventory are coming in every season. So I'll go back to Finale and I'll do sync with network. This actually pulls our servers and downloads those catalogs that you subscribe to.
Okay.
And then it saves a copy of them on your local computer's hard drive so you can work with them. So that's done. And now you'll see we have Dominator and we have Spirit of 76 here in our list.
So when I go to the inventory, it's always stored on my computer, or do I have to constantly access the internet?
That's a great question. So what just happened when we synchronized is we saved a local copy of the data on the user's hard drive. So now I could actually use the current version of the catalog for several weeks in an offline mode before I need to log in with an internet connection again.
I see. Because I would just figure if somebody's mobile and they're working on the show, and let's say there's no internet connection, and they need to maybe make some last minute preparations, they would want to have access to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are, if you want to get updates from a supplier, say you called Spirit and you said, hey, you guys need to add this effect, and they add it on their end, you're going to have internet to get it synchronized on your end. But if you're good with the version of the catalog that's here, once you have it downloaded, you're going to be able to keep working from it without needing an internet connection. The reason you need an internet connection every few weeks to a month is because just validation of your license. This didn't come up at the top of the call, but Keo, we mentioned there was two versions. There's a free version of Finale 3D that's for trial, for demo. There's also Pro and Hobbyist. Those versions are sold as an annual subscription. So part of the reason you need an internet connection periodically is to just validate your license subscription. Other than that, all the Finale 3D features are available offline. Once you can do all of your show design tasks offline.
Sweet.
Yep. So you also have your personal collection of effects, which every user has their own. Think of this as like your inbox in Gmail. When you sign into Gmail, you get your own email, or your YouTube history or your channel, whatever it may be. So my effects is my personal online collection of effects. This is where I could save my own effects, custom effects, things I dreamed up, or things that I took from the catalogs from other suppliers and pulled in and made my own. So that's also stored online. So to save effects to that online collection, that would require an internet connection.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
And again, this particular show that you made, it took how long to make? Just to give people an idea, like if they're looking at this type of show, how much time would they spend in a program to really make something cool?
You could make something cool very quickly. I mean, we did this in 15 minutes while we were having 20 minutes while we're having a conversation, and it wouldn't take that much longer to do some very cool stuff. We have a lot of functions and tools, utilities in our menus to make the scripting operations very cool. So I'll give you one quick example here. Let's delete this effect and add a different effect. I'm just going to go to my effects and I'll look for some single shot items. So let's just go ahead and add this comet, this Aqua Comet with a magenta mine. Just take a look at it here. Now that's cool as it is, but one of the things you saw in the video is that I was shooting things almost looked like a helix. And it's not difficult to do that because all I have to do is select all those effects and drag one of them. And now I've just adjusted the angle to shoot all of them in that sort of spiral pattern. So if we watch it again, now you see the fireworks launching in what looks kind of like a vortex. So you can create some very quick things very easily. Another example is all of the functions in our script menu. So for example, sequences. Very popular feature. So I can make this into a sequence. The difference between what we have here and a sequence is all of these items are launched at the same time on the timeline. Right. If I turn this into a sequence, let's just exaggerate it and make it 3 seconds to make it long. It will automatically space all those effects out. So now you can see we're getting that pattern where it fires the effects individually around in a circle.
So so while you're creating this, so let's say if the wind was 30 miles per hour, how would that affect the entire overall display?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we can go ahead and do another cool thing in Finale is the power to just hit Control Z and infinitely undo your work if you mess something up. So I'll just go ahead and set those to shoot straight up again. And let's go over to kind of a front view so you can kind of see how the wind might push on these effects. So right now, you don't see much of an effect from the wind, but we can go ahead and create an exaggerated example. So we'll come in here and we'll just leave the wind direction at west, but let's pretend we had a 20-mile-an-hour wind, which we probably wouldn't shoot fireworks in a 20-mile-an-hour wind, but if we did, now you can see when I fire the effects, you'll see them being pushed on pretty aggressively by the wind.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit faint there, but you can even see, I'm not sure if it's coming through. I can try to dial up the brightness. But you can even see the smoke. The smoke, I can't independently adjust the brightness of the smoke, but you can see, if we kind of zoom in, those effects also all have smoke trails, and the smoke is being affected by the wind as well. So you can see that when we get a little bit closer. I'm not sure how well it comes through on the stream, but it's pretty impressive in person. So you definitely download the software, give it a try. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. You guys have all those features. Now, the one thing I know I didn't ask you is, can you add snow and rain?
No, that's a great idea. I love it. No, not yet. And we talked about the fact that we're adding DMX driven special effects. When you go to a concert, sometimes it's they have a bubble machine or foam. Sometimes there are dance clubs where they fill them with foam. And snow too is common for, like I used to work for a display company in Texas, and they had a lot of Christmas tree lightings, and they're not getting a lot of snow. So they bring in machines that make like the artificial snow just to set the ambiance and set the scene. And those machines, a lot of them are driven, they're special effects machines. And we will probably add those to Finale in the future. But in terms of environmental snow created by nature, we don't have that, but I do love the idea. That's great. You could really set the mood there with that.
Well, so again, I'm going back to my map making days with generals, and so we had all those little different features and stuff that you can add. It just really makes everything realistic.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to mention, for folks that are new to Fireworks, there are some other, getting your effects in here or getting some effects to work with and making it look good can be part of the hurdle. And I was thinking about that preparing for the stream, and I wanted to show a couple of resources really quickly. Let me bring up a web browser and just look for glossary of pyrotechnics effects. So you see, I just did a quick Google search. Now, at this particular moment, we don't have a good glossary on our website in our documentation. We definitely will in the future. We're working on making a lot of improvements to effects, so we're kind of like in an intermediate stage, but soon we'll have something like this. In the meantime, there are a couple great resources. There are lots of great resources, as you can see, things that come up. One of the ones that I found that really, I saved a link for it here. I'll go ahead and open that in a new tab. So one of the ones that I found that I thought was pretty cool, if you're trying to learn Fireworks terminology, this is just a random site, no affiliation, Keystone Fireworks. So I thought it was cool. They had a good page here that shows not only a textual description of the effects, but also the what they actually look like in terms of a quick some GIFs here, so you can see some moving images. That helps you can help you learn effects. And why is that important? That's important because one of the cool ways, we mentioned VDL at the top of the call, one of the cool things that you can do is create an effect by typing a description of it. So I can go in here, and if I know some basic Fireworks terminology, I can go ahead and create an effect, and it's pretty magical. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So maybe a basic aerial shell effect is, let's say, a peony. So we need to specify the size or the caliber. So I'll just say 3-inch, which would be a professional size, but that'll make it a little bit bigger on the screen. And then I'll just do red peony with blue pistol.
So this is also like a thesaurus for Fireworks also.
Yeah, so what our software is doing when you type the words in the VDL terms, it's recognizing and it's parsing out your input description. So if I type something in there that's not a firework, our classic examples to type the word banana, we don't recognize the word banana because that's not a fireworks terminology. So you don't see the word banana in the VDL down below. So we look for all the recognized fireworks terms, and we parse that out, and we build the simulation based on that.
Nice.
So I can say red peony with blue pistol, and I can say with a gold tail, and that's the rising trail of sparks you see as the shell rises from the mortar tube. So we can go ahead and add that to the show, and we'll go ahead and just delete that for simplicity, and let's go ahead and add one of those to the show. So here's what that looks like now. Launch, there's that gold tail. And the red peony is that outer stars there, and the blue pistol is just like a flower. A lot of fireworks terminology is very synonymous with peony. Obviously, is a flower in real life. So you get something like that, and there's that blue pistol, which is the center portion. And so you can use some resources that are really easily defined. Another great one I just want to show because I want to mention this organization is the PGI. Hugh, I know you've heard of the PGI, the Pyrotechnics Guild International. If you have a real strong interest in fireworks, the PGI is the place for you. I remember the first time I went to a PGI convention, which they host annually, usually when there's not a pandemic, for a week in August at a site in the United States. They move around. If you love fireworks, you need to go to a PGI convention. So look them up, pgi.org, Pyrotechnics Guild International. They've published a glossary of pyrotechnic terms as well. A lot of these are not effects, but a lot of them are, and it's a great way to learn terminology. So I just want to mention that real quick in terms of, if I'm going to create an effect, what can I type in here? And so knowing fireworks terminology is obviously very important to be able to create those effects.
Okay. Let's see. I think they didn't have a PGI last year.
That's right.
I know the last one that I can think of. I know there was one in Tennessee within the past couple of years or so. And
there's a few different fireworks events annually, including local club events. The PGI has sites that they usually rotate between. They go to Mason City, Iowa. They go to Fargo, North Dakota. They go to, some locations in Wisconsin historically. Right. And if you're thinking, why there? Well, the reason is because those are the parts of the U.S. where there's thousands and thousands of acres and no people. And people who are pyros can go and blow stuff up for fun for a week, and it doesn't bother other people too much. So you need a very large space. They produce incredibly large fireworks displays. Then also at these conventions, you can actually learn you can take seminars and actually building fireworks and learning to build your own fireworks. And there are people who build some absolutely incredible fireworks, and all of this stuff you can do at the convention, and you can compete. Professional and hobbyist pyrotechnicians and fireworkers design and build fireworks and shoot them, and they do so safely and legally at an event like this. So
that's nice.
Yeah. And even more safely is of course doing it in finale. But I just don't want anyone to be intimidated by the fact that they don't know fireworks, because you can pretty quickly, just by searching for a glossary of fireworks terms, you can really get some pretty cool stuff, and you get kind of off to the races here. It's kind of addictively fun to create and shoot fireworks in Finale 3D virtually, just like I'm demonstrating here.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the cool things that I loved about it is that if you're not shooting fireworks professionally all the time, you can get in there, create some very cool designs. You can integrate this with your YouTube videos. You can integrate this with your knowledge. If you just are shooting in your neighborhood, if you want to know a little bit more about firework terminologies and actually scripting the shows. I know a lot of the guys that I talk to, even of course from the consumer market, they are interested in PyroMusicals, even the guys who shoot in their neighborhood. So they are interested in syncing up music with fireworks. And I think that's probably the most challenging thing to do, because anybody could just play music and light fireworks, but to actually have it in sync. I asked Drew about this. I don't think it's possible right now based upon what he was telling me, but integrating drones, the drone synchronization, the ability for fireworks. So
that's really taking off, and I find it fascinating, and I think that there may be a time in the future where we look at incorporating drone show design into Finale. We're laser focused on some initiatives that we have right now, improving our effects, adding those DMX special effects like moving lights. But I can see a future where companies or individuals, even where drone shows are you might use Finale just to design a backyard drone show, and you might not, even if you don't do anything with fireworks.
Right. Yeah. Someone's asking, can you show us the YouTube channel showing virtual shows submitted to a competition?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I could do that. Let's quickly, just because we're on this subject, we're talking about PyroMusicals. I want to mention that for those who are interested in shooting fireworks where they're timed to music, you're going to need to invest into a digital system that will shoot fireworks. And we have a page on our website of supported firing systems Not all of the systems we support are even listed here. We support even more that aren't listed at the moment, but they are supported in the software. So you would invest in a digital system like this. Keo, you have a great video on your channel of kind of unboxing of a Cobra system. And that's a popular system for folks that are just getting started out. And this is what allows you to take that show you designed in the virtual world and then get it shot and produced in real life. So we support, as I mentioned, almost every major firing system, if not every major firing system that we know of in the world. And you can generate scripts for those. To answer the viewer's question, both just directly from our YouTube channel and also by going to our video section on our website, you can pull up videos from those contests. So we'll just go, I'll just pop over to the channel here, youtube.com/finale3D. Of course, we're going to hear my voice in a moment, so I'll pause that. And then on the playlist is probably the easiest place to get to it. We have a couple different playlists for our competitions. So the one we hosted in July, for example, and the one we hosted in October. So if I pop one of these open, you get a full list, including the winners at the top, for all of the shows that were submitted that met the competition requirements. So there is a ton of content here if you're looking for inspiration on what's possible in Finale 3D. And as I mentioned, a lot of these shows were designed by folks who were just getting started with fireworks design. So it definitely does not require, don't watch these videos and think, oh man, I had to be a professional to do that. Absolutely not. Some of the folks here were on their first time using Finale 3D.
Yeah, and that's been part of my mission here. I'm not the, for my subscribers watching, I'm not the pyro expert, in terms of fireworks. I'm a hobbyist who shoots fireworks a couple of times a year, and I'm interested. And so, I don't want anyone to be discouraged by looking at a program or a new piece of technology thinking, oh my God, I need to, I have to be a pro user or really into the hobby to buy all these things, because I have a Cobra system, for example, and that cost me $500 and something for somebody who's shooting fireworks maybe a couple of times a year. And so I met the reps. I met Joel Robinson and I met a couple of the other guys. And I was encouraging other customers. I was at Red Apple Fireworks a couple of years ago, and I was encouraging people to buy it. The reason why is because I got tired of running back and forth between the front yard, the backyard, and all over the place trying to light something. So I said, you know what? I need me a remote system where I can just press a button and then I'm just done with it. And so you look at a software like this, you look at a program, and you want to make it work for you. Now, don't be scared or intimidated by it at first, but look to the added benefits, some things you can actually use it for, because, if you have family, kids, if you plan on using something like this, even on a smaller scale in your neighborhood or whatever the case might be, have fun with it, play around with it. This is a great investment, to have to extend your vocabulary and get use. Because remember, even though I run a fireworks channel and you guys see my groups, remember, this is a hobby channel. And that's what we're doing, is promoting your hobbies and expanding your knowledge about things you can actually do with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're totally right. And, for everyone out there who's, they just always want to take everything to the next level and they kind of geek out over technology like you and I do. As soon as I, was old enough to light fireworks by hand, of course, the next thing was like, how can I light more fireworks at the same time? And and systems like Cobra and Starfire and Fire One and others, like Cobra didn't exist. And a lot of systems were reserved for professionals only. Cobra is a system that is cost effective enough for you to start out by investing a few $100, and you can take it in baby steps from there, and it can grow with you. And, that gives you the opportunity to just, have that remote in your hand, and at a safe distance away, you push the button and fireworks go off. And it's like, it's the coolest feeling. Like, it's an addictively cool feeling.
It is.
It's just amazing. And, it's also not just fun. It's safe. If it adds an element of safety, you're not up there with your Bic lighter or torch or whatever it might be, box of matches, trying to lean over something and trying to light it. And so there's a safety element there too. There's lots to learn about firing systems and doing fireworks safely, but it's certainly something that is addictively fun. And Finale is the thing that takes that, if you don't want to do Finale as a game, or in addition to doing it as a game, you want to do it in the real world, you can use a firing system in conjunction with Finale and really take it to the next level.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing with this, like unlike when I create stuff in Adobe After Effects with Element, all that's just on video on a computer. Like this, you're actually bringing this to life. So if you wanted to create your own Cinderella story for your kids, like Disney does, so to speak, you can actually bring this to life. This is not something that's just stuck on your computer. So I think that's also the real cool factor of it as well.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that we can do, in terms of, we saw the video at the top of the call. We can make both videos and what we call long exposure photos. And you can see here right now, we're kind of just seeing as if this was paused in real life, but I can change the exposure duration of our virtual camera. And you will see it takes some time, but it'll actually render. Think of taking a photograph of a firework, right? And having that lens on your camera open for several seconds. We can actually generate images like that you can export. And they're very, very cool, for use on a website or a channel. You saw, for example, on my YouTube channel, on the Finale 3D YouTube channel, that background image there is a long exposure image. That's not a real firework. That was created in Finale 3D, and it exports that. So you can export long exposure photos. So there you see it's taken a little bit of time, but it's rendered that out. And then you can actually, in the pro version, you can export that as a high-res image. And you can create videos in Hobbyist and Pro. It's just a function of the resolution. But, here are the options that you got for creating videos in the Pro version, again, up to 4K, 720p videos in Hobbyist. Tons of render settings for brightness and controlling that 3D environment.
Oh, nice. I love that. I love that, all the possibilities that are there, all the different obstacles somebody may have to face as far as a pyrotechnician creating a show, things you can see. Now, how tall is the Statue of Liberty again?
That's a great question. Is that something I should have looked up in preparation for this, right?
Right. I could look it up, but I'm obviously, I know those are professional grade. I'm just saying that those fireworks are shooting off pretty high, at least.
Yeah, I think
400.
Yeah, so actually, I will say that I do believe this model of the Statue of Liberty is to scale. Let's look it up. Tell me how tall it is. What I would say is I do believe this model is to scale. And I can tell you that our fireworks are absolutely designed to be based on a very specific height, and everything is scaled appropriately. So if we look
5 feet and 1 inch.
Yeah. So we're working in metric in terms of the heights of our products, the effects. So this here is 110 meters, which think of that as yards. So that's about 300. That's 330 feet, 330, 350 feet. So if we look at that shell bursting here, it's a little bit above the top, which makes a little bit of sense. So the scaling is pretty good, and it's meant to be very, very accurate.
Okay. We have a question from the audience. Interesting, but I have a Showis program. I have their very many symbols, flags, and patterns. Is it possible to take it from Showism and put them into Finale 3D and to work with them?
Yeah, so ShowSim is another scripting tool, an older product. It is not very possible to. It's a little bit hard to say take something that's already done in ShowSim and migrate it to Finale 3D. But for the most part, you can reproduce. You can create the same simulations and the same effects. I think one of the things the user might be referring to is something that are called lance pieces or set pieces. When he says a flag, he's often referring to something that would like burn sort of like a billboard on the ground made with small pyrotechnic flares. There is a way to do that in Finale 3D. It's not something you can demo very quickly. And then we have some more stuff in the pipeline that'll make that really, really good. So one of the things about Finale 3D that's really important to know is, earlier we showed our downloads page, and you can see all the versions of the product that we have there. So if I pop back to Finale 3D's website, and then I go to the downloads page, you can see by looking at the date stamps in our releases. So here we have a 4.6 release. These are beta versions that are more. So this is April 21st, April 15th, April 6th. So we're rapidly releasing new features and enhancements and updates for Finale 3D. And that's what we're all about. And that's the culture of our product. So we don't have like the ideal tool at this moment to do some of those things, but they're in the pipeline, and we will be implementing them post haste. And that just kind of range from a range of features across the board. So we are always taking feedback and feature requests, and then we kind of rank those based on demand, how many kind of votes you get for a feature, and then we implement new features all the time. So the product is by no means static and always evolving as well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought we had another question here. Yeah, well, I'm not familiar with all the other pyrotechnician programs, that are out there. I guess I want to ask, so in terms of, maybe I wouldn't say limitations, but maybe, cost, can you maybe talk about a little bit about your competitors, about how really Finale 3D stands apart? If somebody's, not just talking about new users jumping in, but people migrating maybe over from a different product to Finale 3D, like why would someone want to just jump on and say, hey, let me get Finale 3D versus one of your competitors?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There isn't anything else like Finale 3D when you look at cradle to grave fireworks design. When you look at not only the efficiency of designing a show or designing a virtual show, so the scripting tools, the efficiency tools, the productivity tools, but also the visual simulation. So we've really got the most well-rounded set of features, and we've got different price points depending on what features you need. And there really isn't, in my view, anything else out there like that. I definitely don't want to be critical or negative towards any other products out there. Every one of them kind of has their little niche. There are actually not a lot of scripting tools. I think there are less, in active development. There's probably only 2 or 3 other products that I know of in the world. It's a small industry, and it's a small group of folks. So it's like it takes a lot of resources and a lot of passion to develop good software. And that's one reason our product is a subscription product, where you pay for a license each year that you'd like to use the software. And that allows us to continue to develop and improve the software. You would use Finale 3D versus using another tool because it kind of, I believe, in my professional opinion, that it has the most well-rounded feature set. Nobody else has VDL, where you can type in the description of the effect. Nobody else is incorporating models and maps and effects in this way, and certainly from an efficiency standpoint, we'd also done a really good job of making it really fun. I can say I personally have professional experience using 2 other professional scripting products, both of which serve the purpose of a professional, but scripting in those products wasn't fun. And so it's say like,
right.
If you want fireworks design to be addictively fun and have the most fun you've ever had designing fireworks, Finale 3D is just in a class of its own. And I made that determination before I designed the team. And I don't think I would be here today if I didn't love Finale. And then I wanted to be a part of it because I thought it was great versus other things that I tried previously in my career.
I could definitely attest to that, because I can tell you, I spend more time in Adobe After Effects and Element than I would Photoshop. I hate creating thumbnails. There are still features in Photoshop that I obviously don't know, but the reason why I love Adobe After Effects and Element, which is more advanced than Photoshop, is because I could use it for my YouTube videos. It comes to life. It's fun. It's interactive. You're like, oh my God, I could create this. I could do that.
Yeah.
So I do know that when you're interacting with the product, it has to be fun. It has to be entertaining, to some extent, because I can tell you there are older programs that are probably easier. I don't even want to touch because they're boring to look at. Like I remember the first time I started working with computers, one of the first computers I was introduced to was the Apple II computer. It had the black screen, the green letters. It had the actual floppy disk, was a 5-inch, whatever floppy disk.
5.25. Yeah.
I didn't even want to touch those, but I had other computers that had Windows operating systems and stuff on there. So yeah, you have to have something that's really pleasing to the eye and be entertaining in order to want to use it. I mean, nobody wants to use something that's equivalent to an Apple II computer to so
we have worked hard to try to make the software something that just feels right, you know, and I can say, you know, we have this philosophy in this culture where if a user reaches out and they tell us like, I don't like this thing, or I want this feature, and if they say like it feels wrong, or we try it and reproduce what they're saying and it feels wrong, then we work on that, because it's really important to us that the workflow is really just everything feels very natural to the user, and it's easy to do, and therefore it's fun. And for folks who are doing it professionally and designing lots of shows, of course, efficiency is important. But, you know, just in a couple kind of examples I gave today, you can see how with a few keystrokes, you can do something pretty magical.
Oh, sweet. So where are we going to go with this show from here on out? So I know that we've factored in wind conditions. We have our fireworks.
Yeah, so we can add some more effects to the show. I can go ahead and I think, you know, to kind of move in the direction of what we had with our other show, you know, the show that I designed as a demo. We can go back to that one, and, you know, it might be easy to show kind of what we had here. So let's pop back to the beginning of our timeline and take a look at kind of what we had.
Okay.
So here, you know, we had our show started out. One of the other things you'll notice about the show that I pre-designed is the camera animation. And that's something we haven't talked at all about today, but we do have the ability to animate the viewer's location or the camera location. And so when you play the show back, you get that movement, and that comes out, you know, in your video as well.
Okay.
What you'll see here when you look at the show is you'll see the waveform for the music, and you'll see those effects being, you know, fired at specific points and that's the PyroMusical experience. So if we come back to our other show here, you're not going to hear them. I don't think you're going to hear the music come through, but we can definitely see the waveform, and you can see how we would be able to go through and add some effects. So I'll do a quick demo of that. You can either select that point where you want to add the effect, and if I want to say add an effect to all the positions, then it'll do that, and it'll add that exactly at that time. The horizontal lines that you see here are the duration of the effect. So like this is, in the case of this effect, this is the launch, and then the horizontal line shows the entire duration of the effect. So as you go through a show, if you're trying to make sure that you have fireworks filling out the whole soundtrack, seeing where those one set of fireworks burns out to where you might want to add another set of fireworks can be really handy. So we might add some red chrysanthemums here, so you can see then we have a little bit more duration as we go through our show. You can add manually like that, or you can play the show back. I'll go ahead and do that. And you can tap on the I key on your keyboard to insert what we call an empty cue, which is a placeholder that you might want to add effects. So if I go ahead and do that, I'll just hit the I key. There you see I'm adding some placeholder effects in my script, and they're reflected here by the empty cues on the in the script window. So we can go ahead and add, you can select one of those empty placeholders and you can add an effect. So I might go to my effects and we'll find something to put in here. Let's see. Got a couple different collections of effects.
Now, let me ask you this. In terms of fireworks, what's the small, because I know everything obviously for something like this is on a grand scale. You're going to have fireworks shooting at about 300 or 400 feet. You're going to have mortars and aerials. But in terms of inventory and creating the smallest show, what is the smallest show you can possibly create? I know that you showed some fountains the other day, but is there something smaller that you could possibly add to create a show? Does it really go that small?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the effect I just added here is actually a pretty low level effect. It only goes about 65 feet, which is pretty normal for consumer fireworks. If we work from, I've been working from some effects we built today. If we were to work from the effect collection, let's go ahead and jump over to Spirit of 76. These are items. I'll just delete the other items just for clarity. Okay. And you'll see here we can add some consumer level effects. So everything in the Spirit catalog is something that a consumer could purchase. So these are not regulated pyrotechnics. and there's all kinds of effects, and they're made to be to scale with the performance they would have in real life as closely as possible. So, for example, here's a red comet. So a consumer can buy a red comet that goes, a comet is a device. One of these devices is a comet. It's a single point of light that rises from the ground. And you can see that, that's a consumer effect. What a lot of consumers are more familiar with is what are called cakes. They're multiple shot, right? You have like the multiple cardboard tubes glued together with multiple different effects in them. So for example, if we filter the catalog for cakes, then Spirit has, a huge selection of multi-shot cakes that you can go through, and, they've added them here. I'm not even familiar with these products, but this is the same way a user would be kind of browsing through the catalog, add an effect and see what it looks like. So here we can see there's a smaller caliber effect. So that's exactly the kind of thing that you're asking for, Keo, where it's like, yeah, I don't have big professional fireworks. What can I script with? And the answer is there's no such thing that's too small. There's no effect that's too small for Finale. If you were designing something for an indoor stage where you only have 8 feet of height, you could do that in Finale too, and you could have those effects in here as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to give everybody a range, because I know typically when you see something like this, it's boom, 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 the big stuff. But what is like the smallest stuff, you could put in there, so that way everybody has a variety idea about what they can add in there. So
yeah, nothing's too small, and we can kind of look through and see. We can see the calibers of the effects here. So this is like the caliber of the tube. So these are multi-shot items, and the caliber of each tube is, for example, 30 millimeters on this effect, or here's a one that has a very small caliber, 15 millimeters. That's just over half an inch. So it's like very small tubes. If you looked at the top of the multi-shot cake, tubes that are, maybe no bigger than pinky sized. So if I pop this one into the show, we can see what that would look like. If I play it here, I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the music volume, just because it's a little bit distracting while we're doing the live stream. So there you go. So there's a small consumer effect being shot 16 at a time around the Statue of Liberty. It looks pretty good. So
pretty nice.
Consumer fireworks are pretty impressive, and that's why a lot of folks are able to do some really awesome backyard shows. In a relatively small piece of property, using effects that you can buy at a fireworks store.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Now, yeah. I'm just getting some ideas, just thinking to myself.
Yeah, you just spent a bunch of money in your head that you haven't had yet. Yeah, so the sky's the limit, and you can definitely go as small as you want, for sure.
Well, I was thinking I could possibly see people using something like this as the next TikTok challenge.
I just I have no response, because like TikTok to me is, I think I missed the boat, I just right. I get it, but like I'm not not on TikTok. But yeah, sure, why not? We can have a Finale 3D competition on TikTok, and may the coolest short show win.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah. So yeah, as you can see, Spirit's done a good job here. There's just hundreds and hundreds of items, and if you go to Spirit's website, you can see I believe for most of these effects, they have videos of the effects. So you could go on their site and see a video of the real item in real life, and then compare that to the simulations they have in Finale. And I'll tell you, we mentioned the supplier catalogs are maintained by the suppliers. Just a month ago, there was not anywhere near this many effects in this catalog. So they've really been working on that. And by subscribing and downloading the catalog today, I get the benefit of all the improvements and changes that they've made to the catalog. And anytime that I log in and do what we call sync with network, which pings our cloud, that would pull down the latest version of that catalog as well.
All right. So question. So let's say I have Finale 3D. I made my show in Finale 3D. I went through my inventory list. Let's say, obviously, I already have all of my appropriate licenses. I already have the venue picked out. How do I buy the actual effect that I just got finished scripting?
That's a great question. So you can, there's a lot of ways to get the information out of Finale. If you're scripting from a supplier catalog, you're going to have those part numbers. You could literally export this information to Excel We have a variety of built-in reports, so you can generate a product list. You could then take that product list to your supplier and say, I'd like to buy these items. Companies like Spirit might allow you to do that right on their website. There's a company here in Michigan, Ace Pyro, that sells consumer fireworks and professional fireworks, and they're kind of like set up like an online retailer as well. So if you know those part numbers, you can go on the website and place that order. You know, fireworks are usually the vast majority are made overseas, and lead times are long. So you probably want to check with your supplier before you start doing a design, because keep in mind that a catalog, you know, represents a lot of their products, but they do come and go in terms of the inventory that they have on hand. So you do want to check with your supplier to make sure that they have stock on that item before you necessarily, you know, spend a lot of time designing the show if it's something you want to do, if it's something you want to convert from finale to being produced in the real world.
Yeah, I was just thinking that would have been really cool. Like once you design your show, you can hit export and then it sends your catalog or whatever you need, like an inventory list, directly to them without having to leave Finale 3D, and then just, you know, boom, 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 like everything's just right there, like a quick point of sale, like once you're done scripting.
Yeah, so we share that vision entirely, and you know, different suppliers have different systems. We envision building out a system that allows customers to do exactly that. I envision a system where the available quantities from the supplier are, you know, there's exposure to that for the user in Finale, and then yeah, they could directly place an order. We've had those discussions. It's fantastic. You're one step ahead. You know, I think we're definitely going to get to that point at some time. A lot of companies do have the resources on their end to work that way. You know, companies like Spirit and the other company I mentioned here in Michigan, they can do that. Not everybody is at that level, so it's a function of, you know, we need to develop out our infrastructure and then get those companies on board as well.
Yeah, that would just be so cool. Like even on a consumer level, like, hey, this is the kind of show I want to do, and then use Finale 3D. You know, like let's say Finale, have everything, you know, everything scripted, and then you go to your, you know, your local shop and you say, hey, these are the fireworks that I want based upon the show that I want to present. So I know there's possibilities, you know, but that would just be a really cool thing to add.
Yeah, you're totally right. And, you know, I would encourage folks to start from the end of, you know, design those shows, use your creative juices, your creative passion, but definitely look at what fireworks you have available to you locally and think about like getting a stash, as often pyros call it, of fireworks, and then designing your show based on what you have. Because, you know, you don't want to have that heartbreak of designing a show virtually using all these things and finding out, oh man, I can't get them, or they're out of stock. And the pandemic has affected stock levels as well, just like it's affected shortages of all types of products. Like fireworks and toilet paper aren't that different sometimes, you know. So there's definitely a shortage of a lot of products here in the U.S. and probably around the world, and fireworks is one of those. But you can still get fireworks. You can still do an awesome show. You just need to, you just need to make sure you're matching up what you can get locally in your state or in your city, in your region with what's available in Finale 3D, because Finale 3D can do anything in terms of effects. But you just got to make sure that you matching that with real life products.
Definitely. Were there any other questions from the audience? I know we've gone now for about a good hour and 30 minutes, and I originally asked Drew to show me everything because I wanted to see everything about this program because I absolutely love it. But he said, well, there's just too much to show. So are there any questions from any of the viewers? I know with Finale 3D, you have entry-level people, then you have experience level. So we wanted to just, for the main part for this video is to just give everybody an introduction about what you can do, the pricing, where you can get it, the cool features you can add. Drew, is there anything else that you definitely wanted to make sure people knew about the product as far as pricing, downloading, anything like that?
No, I mean, for those who weren't able to join right at the top of the call, I'll go back to our website from our homepage, which is finale3d.com, and say, if you want to get started, the easiest way to do that is to go to our homepage, as I said, finale3d.com, go to our download page and grab the latest version of the software, install it on your computer if it has Windows, give it a shot, create an account, give it a go. Our resources are pretty extensive. We have lots of good software documentation. We have lots of good tutorial videos, and there's more tutorial videos being added to YouTube all the time. Feel free to reach out to us. We have our, this is a long list of releases, but in the footer on our website, we have our email address. You can reach out. That comes to me, support@finale3d.com. Myself or one of my colleagues will get back to you, ask any questions you have. That's the best way to get started. If you're ready to jump in and buy a license, then you're going to come to the pricing page and you're going to have those choices of Finale 3D, Hobbyist, and Pro. There are some other licenses down below. Those are for companies or groups with multiple users. We have additional, if you're adding more than one person who's designing under your company or under your group, then you can buy additional licenses at a discount. But if you're just an individual, your choices are Hobbyist and Pro. You can buy it right here online using a credit card, PayPal account. It's really straightforward. As soon as you check out, the license is active in real time. It's all done automatically. There's nothing extra to download or install. The software you've already got installed in your computer will just work. It's just that simple.
All right, definitely. So again, guys, make sure you click on the links in the description to subscribe to Finale 3D and Finale 3D Masterclass. Do you guys have a Facebook page as well, or Instagram people should follow?
Yeah, absolutely. We have all three. So you can catch us on Facebook. We're Finale Fireworks is our full company name. So look for Finale Fireworks on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. Most of, I would say the mainstream of content is Facebook because it's the way that presents best. But we do have those feeds also patched through to our homepage as well. So you can see our Twitter feed and our Facebook, our Instagram and Twitter feeds that are pulled in. So you can see our handles on both of those. And you can also reach out to us through Facebook. Email is generally the best way, the most rapid, we monitor our email like hawks. So email is the best way to get support, but we do work hard to monitor the social media and the Facebook channel, et cetera. And you can definitely find us there. Just look for Finale Fireworks or Finale 3D.
Thank you, Drew. I definitely thank you for taking your time out, to come on the channel, and explain all of this. I had a lot of fun doing it, and my wife, she really loved the video you put together, with that. She was like, well, where's my name?
If send her the name, she could definitely get Finale and create it right there. You could do it for her in 5 or 10 minutes, so no problem. It's pretty easy to do.
Don't tell her that.
Doing it on the software is quick and easy. Doing it in real life takes a little bit more practice. But I will say I had a blast being here. It's fun. I love to chat about what I do. I'm very fortunate to work in the industry that I'm most passionate about, or work in one of the industries that I'm passionate about, and that makes it fun. And I love doing stuff like this. So thanks for having me.
All right, fellas. So that wraps it up today. We're gonna wrap it up here. Make sure you subscribe to my Patreon. Check out my other channel, Keo Diekin. This is Keo Boom Diekin. Thank you all for joining today. We'll have some more exclusive content for you guys in the future, but we have some fun today with Finale Fireworks and the company reps. So I will see you guys next time. You guys have fun and take care. Bye-bye.